Doubt, Amorim. It's a bigger club. The spotlight, no disrespect to Spurs, but the spotlight there is humongous. So I'd say Man United definitely need to win it more than anybody else. Listen, everyone wants to win it, don't get me wrong, but I think the impact it will have for someone like Amorim will be massively different.
Bigger than Ange.
But Amorim ain't losing his job if they don't win the
No, but I just feel that what he gets in terms of stock, what he gets in terms of like maybe a bit more time, and I think what it means in terms of the media response. Bearing in mind it's a competition that is like, everyone's looking at it going, Man United should be winning this, and it's the way back in the Champions League.
United should beat Lyon. I'm not sure.
Yes.
Tottenham, the way they play, they can beat Frankfurt.
They've got
Frankfurt
the
are flying.
easier game, haven't he?
They've got some great players.
Lyon is much easier than Athletic Club for Rangers and certainly Frankfurt for Tottenham. They've got the better side of the draw in that respect.
Well, who would need it more? I would say Spurs. Like nothing changes at United if they don't win it.
Everything changes.
Spurs,
the moment they're out, everything changes.
Their manager's changing potentially. Like nothing's changing.
What if they expect to? You think that Spurs actually, when it starts, they expect we should be winning this one?
No, but now in the stage, being in the league.
What would happen if they don't? The moment they go out,
changes happen.
Everything changes. Whereas at United, they've very much made the point that whatever happens, whatever happens, we're going to go with the process. I think Tottenham are right at the end of their tether.
They are,
if they don't produce in this competition.
That's what you feel, don't you? We're not Tottenham fans, but with Ange coming out saying we win trophies, that's like a millstone around his neck now, and the media will never let him forget that. So if it doesn't happen, there'll be wholesale changes at Tottenham. You don't want it to happen, but that's what will happen.
It feels like there's something brewing, isn't there, at Tottenham? And it doesn't look good for Ange Postecoglou. You know him as well.
What was he like?
I loved him, but I was in a successful team playing, some football that I'd never played in my career.
You know the Ange you're seeing now and the interviews you see post-match? Is that totally different to the Ange that you knew?
To an extent, but he was always engaging in terms of he'd answer the question, but he'd answer it his way. Even him having a conversation with a fan about being respectful. That's kind of who he is. If he saw something happen in the street that he didn't think was right, he'd say something. But just the Tottenham team, the constant losses, it's bringing that side out of him more. But it was there when we were at Celtic. We lost the odd game or we were questioned the way he played, especially in Europe. We went to Real Madrid and went toe-to-toe with them. And we did all right at home, but we got pumped 5-0 away. But he stood by it, and he would stand by anyone who called him out. 20-man press conference. If one man was whispering about him over there, he'd be like, what are you saying? What have you got to say? Say it to me. But at Tottenham, it's difficult because he's constantly having to deal with it. And you know how the media, they thrive on it, don't they?
Oh, yeah, they do.
And they know if you bite, they go more, don't they?
Yeah, and it started well, didn't it? And then it
unbelievable. Last year they were brilliant, weren't they?
When you're winning, you can be that spiky as well. When you're consistently winning, you're one of the two probably teams that's going to win and challenge.
It's stressful because, like I say, he's a constant. He will be like that, and he'll stand by it.
Thing is, though, they're one of the highest scorers in the Premier League, aren't they? They're fine going forward. It's just the fact, like going the other way.
They've got no defenders.
But that's my point. It's hard to win in Europe if nobody's back there.
I think his argument will be, well, give me all my players and we'll see.
Because he's got to take some responsibility for that.
I agree. I agree with that.
Responsibility maybe it's just for the injuries or then adapting your style. Like, I'm of the theory of, you didn't select them players at the start because they couldn't do what you're asking. Now you have to select them. What are you expecting them to do?
We played in a good United team. They won the league in the same. No, but we played Barca in the Champions League. Remember, Rie? What do we do over those 2 legs?
Defend. Yeah,
we'd say, right, you play, we'll hit you on the counter. This philosophy thing is getting in the way of winning games. And you had Tevez, Rooney, Ronaldo, him, Vidic, Van der Sar,
Scholes, would you not say that football's changed that much now that, like, Carlo Ancelotti, as great as he is, and people probably should be looking to him, they don't look to him. They don't look at, I want to be the next Carlo Ancelotti.
I think you're right.
Everyone wants to be the next.
They should because it's about, Joe, it's about winning, isn't it? It's about winning. It's not about, we got 70% possession and we
But it's
we
totally
play nice
flipped
football.
where the majority of the room would not look at Carlo Ancelotti.
Don't you think, Reece?
Style over substance. Like, who looks like the man? Who's got the clipboard out? Who looks like he's putting out a team that's tactically like superior? But when push comes to shove, you need your players to make decisions
But you
and
know,
win
in
games.
an interview process now, if Carlo Ancelotti walked in and
he's not
was
getting
trying
a job.
to sell himself, then he's not getting a job.
The eyebrow's not even getting the job. I mean,
no, because you're right, because the stats are, even though managers lose and they go, yeah, but we had 70% possession. No, you didn't win though. Tottenham could win the Europa League if they defended well. I know it sounds great, but
they have to change the way they play at the minute.
Does it depend on just having their defenders back, or do they need to change something though? Like, does it depend on having Romero and Van de Ven in situ,
so that's not
or do they have to change something?
They won't. He won't.
Actually, if they're fit, they probably play more aggressive, don't they?
Yeah.
If
Van de Ven says I am 100% fit, he'd squeeze him higher. At the moment, he's just got a tail off because his hamstring could blow off at any moment.
It's mad to me. Asking him to beat every forward in a race every time.
Over 50, 60 metres, 10 times
every
a game.
time.
When he's had hamstring problems.
You can't lose.
Even you guys,
that would be
one-on-one. I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want any part of that. Do you know what I mean? It's true. I don't mind racing 3 times a half, 4 times a half. If you're getting asked to race 10 times a half on average in a game, it's too much.
He would argue that it was further up the field. This is me knowing him. That it wouldn't be about you two having to race. It would be about the three in front of you being better and the counter press being, because when it worked perfectly at Celtic, respectfully, it would mean you'd be boxing people in and he'd want the counter press so intense that when someone did clear it, they weren't looking at where they were just
booting it.
Just booting it because they were just getting smothered and they could come again and again. But I know what you're going to say, Joel.
That isn't there.
I know.
And that,
people ain't doing that.
But that's the perfect version that he's chasing.
In the greatest respect, like Bournemouth, Brighton ain't just clearing it
That's
anymore.
the perfect version that he's chasing. The complete counter
Yeah.
press and the smother. Recycle the ball, go again.
And then go again.
And not even think about the 10 sprints back.
Let's stick with Scotland. Rangers as well, arguably one of the toughest opponents because the final is at Athletic Bilbao Stadium. And they are playing pretty decently in La Liga as well. Yeah. I mean, I know it's not your team, but, you know, go on.
Definitely not
Tell
my
us,
team.
entertain us.
They've seemed to find a form, and whilst I've had more of a keen eye on Scottish football, credit to them on European nights, they've produced. They've not been pretty. They've probably won the ways that we've talked about in the Real Madrids in terms of just finding a way to win. They've not necessarily got a formula or a style that they stick to, but that'll be one step too far.
Who wins the entire competition?
Man United.
Man United or Lazio?
Jolien, Man United or Lazio? Oh?
United and Tottenham have the 2 best squads, but I think United can do it. I think Tottenham could struggle against Frankfurt.
I'm going to go Frankfurt.
Goalie's rogue.
Being at Frankfurt, do you remember that? That was impressive.
And they're going to win?
Yes, it'll be a long night for the Spurs supporters as well if they go out there.
Rio?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with my heart. United.
Okay.
I'm not convinced, but I'm sitting in hope actually.
Manchester United and Tottenham have learned their possible Europa League last 16 opponents ahead of Friday's draw. The knockout playoff round concluded on Thursday, with the winners of the 8 ties joining those who finished in the top 8 of the league phase. United, Spurs, and the other 14 teams left in Europe's second-tier competition will find out who they will face when UEFA conducts the draw at their headquarters in Nyon. The Premier League sides will be placed in opposite halves of the bracket as a result of being paired together after United ended the league stage in third, a place ahead of Spurs. It also meant they could be drawn against the same 4 opponents in the round of 16: AZ Alkmaar, Galatasaray, Real Sociedad and Midtjylland. And following the conclusion of the playoffs, United and Spurs know they will face either AZ Alkmaar or Real Sociedad. Dutch side AZ Alkmaar overcame Galatasaray in their 2-legged tie, while Real Sociedad edged past Danish club Midtjylland. A 4-1 win in the first leg in Holland effectively sealed AZ's spot in the last 16, which they sealed 6-3 on aggregate, while La Liga outfit Real Sociedad beat Midtjylland 7-3 over the 2 legs. Rangers, meanwhile, will take on either Fenerbahce or Bodo Glimt. United last played Real Sociedad in the group stage of the 2022-2023 Europa League, losing 1-0 at home and winning 1-0 in Spain. Their most recent clashes with AZ Alkmaar came in the 2019-20 Europa League group stage, with a 0-0 draw in the Netherlands followed by a 4-0 United victory at Old Trafford. Spurs beat Alkmaar 1-0 at home in the league phase of this year's competition. They have never faced Real Sociedad in a competitive fixture. The first leg of the round of 16 is due to take place on March 6 with the returns a week later. Both United and Spurs will be at home in the second leg. Teams are now able to plot their potential route to the final as they can only play sides on their side of the bracket before the showpiece clash in Bilbao on May 21. Unlike previous iterations of UEFA competitions, teams are no longer drawn against each other in the knockout stages. They are instead placed into one of two possible places in the bracket, which has been predetermined based on their placing in the league phase. Europa League last 16 draw. All you need to know as Manchester United and Tottenham learn their opponents for the next round of the competition. A fresh look to the Europa League has provided it with added gloss, but the action throughout the competition has been as exciting as ever. The new inclusion of a playoff round prior to the last 16 has also seen some familiar European names fall away at an early stage in the competition. However, Premier League giants Manchester United and Tottenham haven't had to worry, having secured an automatic spot in the last 16 by virtue of finishing in the top 8 of the initial group phase. After Thursday's results, it's now confirmed that the Premier League sides will face either AZ Alkmaar or Real Sociedad in the next round of the competition. The draw to confirm every team's route to the final will be held on Friday, February 21st, which is where things may become somewhat confusing. United and Spurs finished 3rd and 4th in the league table format, meaning they will make up one seeded pair in the draw. Ties for the last 16 are scheduled to be played on Thursday, March 6th, with the return legs a week later on Thursday, March 13th. UEFA state that clubs are paired based on their positions at the end of the league phase to form four seeded pairs: clubs in positions 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, and 7 and 8. The clubs in each seeded pair are drawn into one of two positions in the round of 16 against the relevant winner of the knockout phase playoffs, whose position was determined by the knockout phase playoff draw. 4 bowls are prepared for this draw, 2 for the silver side of the bracket and 2 for the orange side of the bracket. Each bowl contains 2 balls representing the winners of the round of 16 matches from one rung of the relevant side of the bracket, with the first silver bowl containing slips of paper marked winners are 16-1 and winners are 16-2, and the second silver bowl winners are 16-3 and winners are 16-4. The first bowl on the orange side will contain slips of paper marked winners are 16-5 and winners are 16-6, and, finally, winners are 16-7 and winners are 16-8 in the second bowl on the orange side. The draw starts by shuffling and then drawing the balls placed in the first bowl of the silver side of the bracket. The first ball drawn from this bowl indicates the team which will play the first match of the quarter-final at home, and the second ball the team which will play the return leg at home.